Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Aurora, and welcome to Twin Flame Journey, a space where we explore the deeper meaning behind soul connections, divine timing, and the path that leads two hearts back to union. If you've been feeling the signs, you're in the right place.
Many people believe that twin flame union is the ultimate happy ending. They imagine a moment when two souls finally reunite after years of longing, separation, and emotional storms. In their minds, union is the moment when everything becomes perfect. No more confusion. No more pain. No more running or chasing. Just love, harmony, and eternal happiness. But what if that idea is only part of the truth? What if union is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of something far deeper? This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of the twin flame path. People often focus so much on the moment of reunion that they forget to ask a more important question. What actually happens after twin flame union? Does the drama disappear overnight? Do the challenges magically stop? Or does the relationship transform into something entirely different? To understand this, we first need to look at the long road that leads to union. The storm before the calm. Almost every twin flame journey begins with intensity. When twin flames first meet, the connection can feel electrifying. It is not like ordinary attraction. It feels magnetic, powerful, almost impossible to ignore. Many people describe it as if they have known the other person forever, even if they just met. There is recognition. There is fascination. And there is a deep emotional pull that seems to come from somewhere beyond logic. But very quickly, something else begins to happen. The connection starts to trigger things inside both people. Old wounds begin to surface. Hidden fears appear. Unresolved trauma rises to the surface. At first, this can be confusing. After all, how can something that feels so deeply loving also bring so much emotional chaos? This is where many twin flame journeys enter what is commonly known as the runner-chaser dynamic. One person feels overwhelmed by the intensity and begins to distance themselves. This is often called the runner. The other person, feeling the deep bond and not understanding why the connection is pulling away, tries to hold on tighter. This person becomes the chaser. And so begins the cycle. Running, chasing, reuniting, separating again. It can feel like an emotional roller coaster that never seems to stop. During this stage, the relationship is often filled with misunderstanding, longing, frustration, and heartbreak. Many people on the twin flame path wonder if something is wrong. Why does this connection feel so powerful, yet so difficult? Why does love seem to bring so much pain? The answer lies in something most people don't realize at first. The twin flame connection is not just about romance. It is about transformation. The mirror effect. One of the core purposes of the twin flame relationship is to act as a mirror. Your twin flame reflects back to you the parts of yourself that you may not have fully seen or healed yet. Sometimes that reflection is beautiful. It can show you your strengths, your potential, and your deepest capacity to love. But other times, it reflects the parts of you that are still wounded. Your fears of abandonment. Your fear of not being good enough. Your unresolved childhood pain. Your patterns of control, avoidance, or emotional protection. When two people who mirror each other so deeply come together, those hidden parts cannot stay hidden for long. They rise to the surface. And this is why the early stages of the twin flame journey often feel chaotic. It is not because the connection is wrong. It is because the connection is powerful enough to reveal everything that needs healing. Think of it like a storm that clears the sky. At first, the wind is strong. The thunder is loud. Everything feels unstable. But the storm is not there to destroy the landscape. It is there to clear the air. The healing phase. Eventually, something begins to change. After enough cycles of separation and reflection, both people start to understand that the external drama is pointing towards something internal. The real work is not about controlling the other person. It is about healing yourself. This is when the true transformation begins. People on the twin flame path often start focusing on healing past trauma, releasing emotional attachments, working on their inner child, letting go of ego-driven reactions, learning self-love and emotional independence. Instead of asking, why are they running? The question slowly becomes, what part of me still needs healing? Instead of trying to force reunion, the focus shifts toward personal growth. And this shift changes everything. Because when one twin begins to grow, the energetic dynamic between them also changes. The chasing energy fades. The fear slowly dissolves. And something much quieter begins to appear. Peace. The quiet transformation. This stage is often invisible to the outside world. There may not be dramatic reunions or passionate declarations of love. In fact, sometimes there is still physical distance between the two people. But internally, something profound is happening. The emotional chaos that once defined the relationship begins to soften. The intense need for control fades. The urge to chase or escape starts to dissolve. Both individuals begin to stand more firmly within themselves. They become more stable, more self-aware, more emotionally grounded. And when two people who have done this inner work meet again, something remarkable happens. The energy between them feels different. Calmer, clearer, more balanced. This is often the point where true twin flame union becomes possible. But here's the part that many people don't expect. Union does not feel like the explosive fireworks that many imagine. It does not feel like a dramatic movie ending where everything suddenly becomes perfect. Instead, it often feels surprisingly simple and peaceful, the beginning of real love. When twin flame union finally occurs, the relationship begins to move out of the stage of emotional turbulence and into something much deeper. The dramatic highs and lows that once defined the connection begin to fade. Communication becomes easier. Misunderstandings happen less often. Both people are less reactive and more conscious of their emotions. Why? Because the internal wounds that once created conflict have been healed or softened. The ego no longer needs to defend itself so aggressively. And the love that remains is not driven by fear. It is driven by awareness. This is where the true beauty of twin flame union begins to reveal itself. It is not a love based on dependency. It is not a love based on obsession. It is not a love driven by the fear of losing the other person. Instead, it becomes a love built on freedom. Two individuals who have grown into their own strength choosing to walk the path together. Not because they need each other to survive, but because they genuinely support each other's evolution. And this leads us to the most important realization of all. Twin flame union is not the end of the story. It is the moment when the relationship finally becomes stable enough to fulfill its deeper purpose. But what exactly changes after union? Does the drama truly disappear? Does peace really replace chaos? And how does the love between twin flames evolve once both people have grown? These are the questions we will explore next. For many people on the twin flame journey, the relationship often feels like an emotional storm. There are moments of deep connection, followed by confusion. There are intense conversations, followed by silence. There are reunions that feel magical, followed by separations that feel heartbreaking. This cycle can repeat itself many times. And during those early stages, it is easy to believe that this chaos is simply part of what a twin flame relationship will always be. Some even begin to assume that intensity and drama are proof that the connection is real. But here is a truth that many people only realize much later. Twin flame union is not defined by emotional chaos. It is defined by emotional stability. In fact, one of the clearest signs that union has truly occurred is that the drama that once dominated the relationship begins to fade. Not because the connection has become weaker, but because both people have become stronger. Why the drama exists in the first place. To understand why the drama decreases after union, we must first understand why it existed at all. In the early stages of the twin flame journey, both individuals are still carrying emotional patterns that were developed long before they met each other. These patterns can come from childhood experiences, past relationships, or deep fears that have never been fully processed. For example, someone who grew up feeling abandoned may carry a deep fear of being left behind. When the twin flame connection triggers this fear, the person may react with anxiety, attachment, Or emotional intensity. Another person may have learned early in life that vulnerability is dangerous. When the twin flame connection becomes emotionally overwhelming, their instinct may be to pull away or shut down. Neither person is consciously trying to create conflict. They are simply reacting from wounds that have not yet been healed. The twin flame connection acts like a magnifying glass for these patterns. What might have remained hidden in other relationships suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. This is why early twin flame stages often involve misunderstandings, emotional triggers, and dramatic push and pull dynamics. But this stage is not meant to last forever. It is meant to wake both individuals up. The moment awareness begins. At some point during the journey, something begins to shift. After enough cycles of emotional turbulence, both individuals start to notice a pattern. The same arguments repeat. The same fears return. The same emotional reactions appear again and again. And eventually, a realization emerges. The problem is not simply the other person. The real work lies within. This moment of awareness is one of the most important turning points on the twin flame path. Instead of trying to fix the relationship from the outside, both individuals begin focusing on their own inner healing. They start asking deeper questions. Why do I react this way? What fear is being triggered right now? Where did this emotional pattern come from? As these questions deepen, something remarkable begins to happen. The emotional charge behind many conflicts starts to lose its power. Healing changes the dynamic. When someone begins doing genuine inner work, their energy changes. They become more aware of their emotional triggers. They learn how to pause instead of reacting immediately. They begin responding from consciousness rather than fear. And when this happens, the entire dynamic of the relationship shifts. Imagine a conversation that would once have turned into a heated argument. Perhaps one person says something that would previously have triggered insecurity or anger. In the past, the response might have been defensive or reactive. But after healing work has begun, the response is different. There is a pause. There is awareness. There is space to communicate calmly instead of escalating the conflict. This change may seem small, but its impact is enormous. Because drama does not disappear through avoidance. It disappears when emotional maturity replaces emotional reactivity. When both twins reach this stage, the transformation becomes even more powerful when both individuals have gone through this healing process. At this stage, the relationship no longer operates from old wounds. Both people are capable of listening without immediately defending themselves, expressing emotions without attacking the other person, recognizing when a trigger is coming from the past rather than the present. Instead of blaming each other, they begin supporting each other's growth. For example, if one partner feels triggered, the conversation might sound very different from before. Instead of accusations, it might sound like this. I noticed that something you said touched a fear inside me. I know this fear comes from my past, but I want to share it with you honestly. This type of communication creates safety, and safety dissolves drama. Because when people feel emotionally safe, they no longer need to protect themselves with defense mechanisms. A real-life example. Consider the story of Daniel and Maya. During the early stages of their twin flame connection, their relationship felt explosive. They were deeply drawn to each other. Yet they constantly found themselves arguing over small misunderstandings. A delayed message could lead to suspicion. A busy schedule could trigger feelings of rejection. Both of them cared deeply for each other, but neither understood why the connection felt so difficult. Eventually, after another painful separation, both of them began focusing on their own healing. Daniel started exploring his fear of abandonment, which came from growing up with an emotionally distant parent. Maya began working through her fear of vulnerability, which developed after several past relationships where she felt betrayed. For the first time, they stopped trying to fix each other. They started healing themselves. Months later, when they reconnected, something had changed. The same triggers still existed, but the reactions were different. When Daniel felt anxious, He expressed it calmly instead of accusing Maya of pulling away. When Maya felt overwhelmed, she communicated her need for space instead of disappearing completely. Slowly, the dramatic cycles that once defined their relationship began to fade. Not because they stopped caring, but because they had grown. The calm after the storm. When twin flame union truly stabilizes, many people are surprised by how peaceful the relationship becomes. It no longer feels like an emotional battlefield. It feels like a place of rest. This does not mean that disagreements never happen. Every relationship still involves differences in perspective. But those differences are handled with respect rather than conflict. Arguments become conversations. Triggers become opportunities for understanding. And emotional chaos is replaced by emotional clarity. The love between the two people begins to feel steady rather than volatile. And perhaps the most beautiful change of all is this. The relationship no longer feels exhausting. Instead of draining energy, it begins to restore it. Why peace is the true sign of union. Many people mistakenly believe that passion and intensity are the ultimate signs of a deep relationship. But true depth often reveals itself through something quieter. Peace. When two individuals have done the inner work required for twin flame union, their connection becomes a space where both people can finally relax into who they truly are. There is less fear, less pressure, less emotional noise. And in that silence, a deeper form of love begins to grow. A love that is not built on adrenaline or emotional highs, but on trust, understanding, and mutual growth. This is why the fading of drama is not a loss. It is a sign that the relationship has evolved. The storm that once shook both lives has finally passed. And in the calm that follows, something new begins to emerge. Not chaos, not confusion, but a steady, grounded love that is strong enough to last. Yet the fading of drama is only the first transformation that happens after twin flame union. Because once emotional chaos disappears, another powerful shift begins to take its place. A shift that many people describe as something they have never felt before. A deep and lasting sense of peace. And that is the change we'll explore in the next chapter. For many people walking the twin flame path, the early stages of a connection can feel like standing in the middle of a powerful storm. Emotions move quickly. Conversations carry enormous weight. Small misunderstandings can trigger deep reactions. The connection feels intense, passionate, and sometimes overwhelming. During this phase, many believe that this emotional turbulence is simply part of what twin flame love is supposed to feel like. They begin to associate intensity with depth. They assume that the stronger the emotional waves, the more powerful the connection must be. But something unexpected happens after genuine twin flame union begins to stabilize. The storm slowly fades. And in its place, something far quieter, yet far more powerful, begins to appear. Peace. At first, this peace can feel almost unfamiliar. Some people even question it. After so many emotional highs and lows, the calm can feel strange, as if something important is missing. But over time, they begin to realize that this calm is not emptiness. It is harmony. And it is one of the most profound transformations that occurs after union. Why the early stages feel so turbulent. To understand the peaceful energy that emerges after union, it is important to understand why the early stages of the twin flame journey often feel so chaotic. When two twin flames meet, the connection activates deep emotional layers within both individuals. Hidden fears surface. Old wounds rise into awareness. Unhealed patterns begin to reveal themselves. The connection acts like a powerful mirror, reflecting both the light and the shadow within each person. Because of this mirroring effect, the relationship can feel emotionally intense. One partner may experience overwhelming closeness, while the other suddenly feels the urge to withdraw. One moment may feel full of love and connection, while the next moment feels uncertain or confusing. It is not unusual for both individuals to feel emotionally exhausted during this stage. But the purpose of this turbulence is not to create suffering. Its purpose is to bring hidden emotional patterns into the light so that they can finally be healed. And once that healing work begins, the emotional energy between the two people starts to shift. The inner calm that begins to grow. As both individuals begin healing their inner wounds, something subtle begins to change within them. They become more aware of their emotional responses. They learn how to pause instead of reacting instantly. They begin to recognize the difference between present reality and past fear. For example, in earlier stages, a delayed message might trigger anxiety. The mind might immediately jump to conclusions. Maybe they're losing interest. Maybe they're pulling away again. But as healing deepens, that reaction softens. Instead of panic, there is patience. Instead of assumptions, there is curiosity. Instead of fear, there is trust. These small internal changes create a profound shift in the emotional atmosphere of the relationship. Because when both individuals are grounded within themselves, the energy between them naturally becomes calmer. The surprising nature of twin flame peace. Many people imagine that twin flame union will feel like constant passion and emotional excitement. But those who truly experience union often describe something very different. They describe a sense of deep calm, a quiet feeling of emotional safety, a presence that feels grounding rather than overwhelming. It is the feeling of finally being able to breathe. For the first time, the relationship no longer feels like something that must be fought for or defended. There is no longer a constant fear of losing the connection. Instead, both individuals feel secure in the bond they share. The love is still deep. The connection is still powerful. But it is no longer chaotic. It is stable. A story of transformation. Consider the experience of a woman named Elena. When Elena first met her twin flame, the connection felt like lightning striking her life. Everything changed almost overnight. Their conversations felt intense and meaningful. They could talk for hours about subjects that felt deeply personal and spiritual. But the emotional intensity quickly became difficult to manage. Small misunderstandings led to long emotional discussions. Periods of closeness were often followed by unexpected distance. Elena constantly worried that the connection might disappear. The uncertainty made her anxious. Eventually, after a painful separation, Elena realized that much of her emotional reaction came from a deep fear of abandonment that had existed long before she met her twin flame. She began working on herself. She practiced meditation. She explored her childhood experiences. She slowly learned how to calm the anxious voice inside her mind. Months later, when she and her twin flame reconnected, something remarkable had changed. The connection still felt powerful, but it no longer felt chaotic. Instead of constantly analyzing every message or conversation, Elena felt relaxed. She trusted the connection. And surprisingly, her twin flame seemed calmer as well. Their conversations became easier. Silence between them no longer felt uncomfortable. They could simply sit together, enjoying each other's presence without needing to fill every moment with words. Elena later described this shift in a very simple way. It felt like the storm inside my heart had finally stopped. The difference between excitement and peace. One of the biggest misconceptions about love is the belief that excitement must always be present for the relationship to feel meaningful. Movies and stories often portray love as dramatic and intense. But lasting love often reveals itself through something much quieter. Peace. Excitement can come and go, but peace creates stability. Peace allows two people to grow together without constantly feeling threatened by emotional turbulence. In a peaceful connection, both individuals feel free to be themselves. There is less pressure to perform, less fear of making mistakes, less anxiety about where the relationship is going. Instead of constantly questioning the future, both people begin to trust the natural flow of the relationship, the energetic harmony of union. Another aspect of this peaceful state is the energetic harmony that develops between twin flames. After union, earlier in the journey, their emotional energies often felt out of sync. One person might feel deeply connected while the other felt overwhelmed. One might seek closeness while the other needed distance. But after healing and inner growth, this imbalance begins to stabilize. Both individuals become more emotionally regulated. Their reactions slow down. Their communication becomes clearer. The energetic push and pull that once defined the relationship begins to disappear. And when this balance is reached, the connection feels natural rather than forced. Neither person feels the need to chase or escape. They simply walk forward together. The quiet power of presence. Perhaps one of the most beautiful aspects of twin flame peace is the comfort of shared presence. In earlier stages, being together might have felt emotionally intense. Every interaction carried enormous significance. But after union stabilizes, the connection becomes more relaxed. Two people can spend time together without needing constant validation or reassurance. They can sit in silence. They can share simple daily experiences. They can support each other without needing dramatic expressions of love. And strangely, this quiet presence often feels deeper than the emotional intensity that came before. Because it is rooted in trust. A love that feels like home. Many people who experience this stage describe the feeling in a similar way. They say that being with their twin flame begins to feel like coming home. Not the excitement of discovering something new, but the comfort of returning to a place where they truly belong. There is warmth. There is familiarity. There is safety. The relationship becomes a space where both individuals can rest from the chaos of the outside world. And this calm energy becomes the foundation for the next stage of their journey together. Because once peace has replaced the emotional storm, something else begins to deepen. The love between twin flames begins to mature. It becomes less about emotional intensity and more about conscious choice. A love that grows not from need, but from awareness. And this transformation, the evolution of love itself, is what we will explore in the next chapter. One of the most beautiful transformations that happens after twin flame union is the evolution of love itself. In the beginning, twin flame love often feels overwhelming. It is intense. It is passionate. It can feel almost addictive. Many people describe the early stages of the connection as if they are being pulled into something they cannot control. The emotions feel larger than life. The attraction feels magnetic. The bond feels impossible to ignore. But intensity does not always mean maturity. In fact, during the early stages of the twin flame journey, love is often mixed with fear, attachment, and emotional dependency. There may be a strong desire to hold on to the other person. There may be a fear of losing the connection. There may be moments where love feels entangled with insecurity. These feelings are not wrong. They are part of the human experience. But they are not the final form of love that the twin flame journey is meant to reveal. As healing takes place and union stabilizes, something remarkable begins to happen. Love begins to mature. The difference between intense love and mature love. At first glance, intense love and mature love can look similar. Both involve deep emotions. Both involve strong connection. Both involve powerful attraction. But the foundation of these two forms of love is very different. Intense love is often driven by emotional urgency. It says, "I need you. I cannot lose you. You complete me." This kind of love can feel beautiful, but it can also carry hidden pressure. If someone believes they need another person to feel whole, the relationship may become filled with anxiety. Every disagreement can feel threatening. Every moment of distance can feel frightening. Mature love, however, comes from a very different place. Mature love says, "I choose you. I respect your freedom. I love who you are, not who I need you to be." Instead of being driven by fear of loss, mature love is rooted in emotional stability and self-awareness. And this is the form of love that begins to emerge after twin flame union. Healing creates the space for mature love. The reason mature love becomes possible after union is because both individuals have already gone through deep inner transformation. During the earlier stages of the journey, They confronted their emotional wounds. They learned to face their fears. They began healing the parts of themselves that once created insecurity and attachment. Through this process, each person becomes more emotionally independent. They no longer rely on the relationship to fill a void inside themselves. Instead, they learn how to create inner stability on their own. This does not make the connection weaker. In fact, it makes it stronger. Because when two people come together from a place of wholeness rather than neediness, the relationship becomes a partnership instead of a dependency. Choosing each other every day. One of the most powerful aspects of mature love is the concept of conscious choice. In immature relationships, love can feel automatic. Two people feel drawn together by chemistry and emotion, and the relationship simply unfolds without much awareness. But mature love involves intention. Two people wake up each day and continue choosing each other, not because they are afraid to be alone, not because they feel trapped, but because they genuinely want to walk through life together. This conscious choice creates a deeper sense of respect within the relationship. Both individuals recognize that their partner is free. They are not obligated to stay. They are not forced to remain in the relationship, and yet they continue to choose the connection. That choice makes the love feel even more meaningful. The end of emotional control. Another sign that love has matured after twin flame union is the disappearance of emotional control. In the early stages of many relationships, people sometimes try to control situations in order to feel safe. They may try to control how often their partner communicates. They may try to control how much time their partner spends with them. They may try to control the direction of the relationship. Often, this behavior comes from fear. The fear that if things are not controlled, the relationship might fall apart. But mature love does not require control. It allows space. It respects individuality. After twin flame union, both partners understand that the relationship cannot grow if one person tries to dominate or restrict the other. Instead, they allow each other to evolve freely. This freedom strengthens the bond between them, because love that is freely given always feels more genuine than love that is demanded. Supporting each other's growth. Another important characteristic of mature twin flame love is mutual support. In the earlier stages of the journey, the relationship may have been filled with emotional triggers and misunderstandings. But once both individuals have grown, the dynamic changes. Instead of triggering each other's wounds, they begin supporting each other's development. For example, one partner may encourage the other to pursue a dream that once felt impossible. Another may provide emotional support during difficult life transitions. Instead of competing with each other or feeling threatened by each other's growth, both individuals celebrate it. They understand that the success and happiness of one partner does not diminish the other. It strengthens the entire relationship. A real-life illustration. Consider the experience of Marcus and Sophia. When they first met, their connection felt incredibly intense. They spent long nights talking about their dreams, their fears, and the strange feeling that they had known each other before. But their early relationship was also filled with emotional turbulence. Marcus often worried that Sophia might leave him. Sophia sometimes felt overwhelmed by the intensity of Marcus's emotions. Their love was powerful, but it was not yet stable. After several difficult separations, both of them began focusing on their own growth. Marcus worked on understanding the root of his fears. Sophia learned how to communicate her emotional boundaries more clearly. Years later, when they reunited, their relationship felt very different. Marcus no longer reacted with anxiety when Sophia needed space. Sophia no longer felt overwhelmed by emotional pressure. Instead, they supported each other. They encouraged each other's careers. They respected each other's personal time. They communicated openly about their feelings without blame or accusation. The love between them was still deep, but it was no longer chaotic. It had matured. Freedom within the connection. One of the most surprising aspects of mature twin flame love is the level of freedom that allows. Contrary to what many people believe, deep love does not require constant closeness. Two people can remain deeply connected while still maintaining their individuality. They can have separate interests, separate friendships, separate personal goals, and yet their bond remains strong. This balance between connection and independence is one of the hallmarks of mature love. It allows both individuals to continue evolving without feeling restricted by the relationship. A love that evolves. Perhaps the most important characteristic of mature twin flame love is that it continues to grow. It does not remain stuck in a single emotional phase. Instead, it evolves as both individuals continue learning about themselves and each other. Some days the relationship may feel playful and lighthearted. Other days it may feel deeply reflective and meaningful. But through all these phases, one thing remains constant. The foundation of the relationship is stable. Trust replaces fear. Respect replaces control. And conscious choice replaces emotional dependency. The deeper purpose of mature love. As love matures, another realization often begins to emerge. The relationship is not only about the happiness of the two individuals involved. It also begins to influence the world around them. A stable, loving partnership creates a ripple effect. Friends notice the harmony between them. Family members feel inspired by their emotional maturity. Sometimes their relationship even becomes a source of guidance or healing for others. This is one of the hidden purposes of twin flame union. When two people transform themselves deeply enough, their love becomes more than just a private experience. It becomes a source of light that can influence the lives of many others. And this leads to another profound change that occurs after union. Because as the relationship stabilizes and love matures, both individuals often begin to realize something extraordinary. Their connection may be guiding them toward a shared purpose, a mission that goes beyond the relationship itself. And this is the next transformation we'll explore in the following chapter. One of the deepest transformations that occurs after twin flame union is not just the change within the relationship itself, but the change within the individuals who are part of it. Before union, much of the twin flame journey revolves around healing. Old wounds surface. Unresolved emotions demand attention. Personal fears must be confronted. During those earlier stages, it often feels as if life is constantly presenting challenges that force both individuals to grow. The process can feel uncomfortable, even painful at times. But every lesson carries a hidden purpose. It is shaping both people into stronger, wiser, and more conscious versions of themselves. And once union stabilizes, the results of that transformation begin to reveal themselves. Both individuals realize that they are no longer the same people they were when the journey first began. They have changed. They have evolved. They have grown. The person you were before the journey. Think back to the moment before the twin flame connection entered your life. Most people were living their lives in a relatively ordinary way. They had dreams, ambitions, and relationships like anyone else. Yet there were often emotional patterns operating quietly beneath the surface. Perhaps there were fears about intimacy. Perhaps there were unresolved childhood wounds. Perhaps there were habits of self-doubt or emotional protection that had developed over many years. These patterns were often invisible at first. Daily life continued as usual, and nothing seemed to force those deeper issues into awareness. But when the twin flame connection appeared, something changed. The intensity of the bond acted like a catalyst. It brought hidden emotions to the surface. It revealed parts of the self that had never been fully explored. And suddenly, the journey became not just about love, but about self-discovery, the awakening of self-awareness. One of the first major changes that begins during the twin flame journey is the development of deep self-awareness. People start asking questions they may never have asked before. Why do I react this way? Why does this situation trigger such strong emotions? What part of my past is influencing my behavior right now? These questions are not always comfortable. They require honesty. They require courage. But they also open the door to transformation. Instead of blaming circumstances or other people, individuals begin taking responsibility for their own emotional world. This shift in perspective is one of the most powerful steps toward personal growth. Because once someone becomes aware of their inner patterns, they also gain the power to change them. The work of healing. Healing is rarely a simple or quick process. For many people on the twin flame path, it involves exploring deeply rooted emotional experiences. Some may begin examining childhood memories. Others may reflect on past relationships that left emotional scars. Many begin practices that support inner balance, such as meditation, journaling, therapy, or spiritual study. Through these practices, individuals gradually learn how to calm their inner world. They learn how to recognize their emotional triggers without being controlled by them. They learn how to forgive both themselves and others for past mistakes. And perhaps most importantly, they learn how to develop self-love. This does not mean arrogance or self-centeredness. True self-love means recognizing one's own worth and treating oneself with compassion. When someone reaches this stage of self-respect, their entire approach to life begins to change. Growth that extends beyond the relationship. One of the most interesting aspects of the twin flame journey is that the growth it inspires does not remain limited to the romantic connection. It spreads into every area of life. People often begin making changes they never expected. They may pursue careers that feel more aligned with their passions. They may develop healthier relationships with friends and family. They may discover new spiritual or creative interests that bring deeper meaning to their lives. The journey that once seemed focused on another person becomes a journey of self-evolution. And this transformation continues even after union. In fact, union often accelerates it. When two individuals who have already done deep inner work come together, they inspire each other to keep growing. Instead of holding each other back, they push each other forward, encouraging each other's potential. One of the beautiful aspects of twin flame union is the way both partners encourage each other's personal development. Each person sees the potential in the other. Sometimes they see it even more clearly than the other person can see it themselves. For example, one partner might notice a creative talent that the other has never fully explored. They might encourage them to pursue writing, art, music, or teaching. Another partner might recognize leadership abilities or professional strengths that the other person has been hesitant to embrace. Through encouragement and support, both individuals begin stepping more fully into their authentic selves. This process can feel empowering. Instead of shrinking to fit the relationship, both people expand within it. A story of mutual growth. Consider the story of Ethan and Lila. Before their twin flame journey began, both of them were living relatively stable lives. Ethan worked in a corporate job that provided financial security, but left him feeling uninspired. Lila was passionate about helping others, but lacked the confidence to turn her interests into a meaningful career. When they met, their connection felt powerful. But the early stages of their relationship were difficult. Both of them had emotional fears that created misunderstandings and distance. After several challenging periods apart, they began focusing on their own personal growth. Ethan started questioning whether his career truly reflected who he wanted to be. Lila began exploring her interest in counseling and personal development. Over time, both of them made courageous decisions. Ethan eventually left his corporate position to start a business that aligned with his values. Lila pursued training in emotional wellness and began working with people who were seeking healing in their own lives. Years later, when their relationship stabilized into union, something remarkable had happened. They were no longer the uncertain individuals they had once been. They had grown into confident, purposeful versions of themselves. And instead of competing for attention or validation, they supported each other's growth. Their relationship became a partnership of encouragement and inspiration. The confidence that emerges. Another important transformation after union is the development of confidence. When individuals have faced their fears, healed emotional wounds, and embraced personal growth, they begin to trust themselves more deeply. This confidence does not come from external validation. It comes from inner experience. They know they have faced difficult emotional challenges and survived them. They know they have grown through those experiences. And that knowledge creates strength. This strength allows them to approach life with greater courage. They become more willing to take risks, more willing to pursue meaningful goals, more willing to express their authentic selves without fear of judgment. A relationship that supports evolution. In many relationships, personal growth can sometimes feel threatening. If one person begins changing significantly, the other may feel insecure or resistant. But in a mature twin flame union, growth is not feared. It is celebrated. Both individuals understand that evolution is part of the journey. They support each other's dreams. They encourage exploration. They understand that growth does not weaken the relationship. It strengthens it. Because when both individuals continue evolving, the relationship itself also evolves, becoming who you were meant to be. Perhaps the most profound realization after twin flame union is this. The journey was never only about finding the other person. It was about becoming the person you were meant to be. The connection acted as a catalyst. It revealed hidden wounds. It inspired healing. It encouraged courage and self-discovery. And through that process, both individuals stepped into their higher potential. They became more aware, more compassionate, more authentic. In many ways, the twin flame journey is a path of self-transformation disguised as a love story. The relationship is not simply about two people coming together. It is about two individuals evolving into the highest versions of themselves. And when that transformation occurs, something even more remarkable becomes possible. The connection between them begins to serve a purpose beyond their personal happiness. Because once both individuals have grown into their true selves, they often begin to feel drawn towards something greater, a shared mission, a deeper calling. And that is the next stage of the twin flame journey we will explore in the following chapter. One of the most recognizable phases of the twin flame journey is the runner-chaser dynamic. For many people, this stage defines the early experience of the connection. It is the phase where one person seems to move closer, while the other pulls away. One person seeks clarity, connection, and emotional openness. The other feels overwhelmed and retreats into distance or silence. This push and pull dynamic can repeat itself many times. And during this stage, it often feels confusing, painful, and emotionally exhausting. Many people wonder why something that feels so deeply meaningful can also feel so unstable. But the truth is that the runner-chaser dynamic is not the final state of a twin flame relationship. It is a stage of imbalance that exists only until both individuals complete the inner growth required to restore emotional equilibrium. When that growth occurs, the dynamic begins to dissolve. And, in its place, a new form of connection emerges, one built on balance. Understanding the runner-chaser pattern. To understand how balance eventually replaces this dynamic, we must first understand why it appears in the first place. The runner-chaser pattern is not simply about two people behaving differently. It is about emotional energy. In the early stages of the twin flame journey, both individuals often carry unresolved emotional wounds. One person may feel a strong desire for closeness and reassurance. They may fear losing the connection and therefore try to hold on tightly. The other person may feel overwhelmed by emotional intensity. They may fear vulnerability and instinctively create distance to protect themselves. These reactions are rarely intentional. They are subconscious responses shaped by past experiences. For example, someone who has experienced abandonment in childhood may become the chaser, constantly seeking reassurance that the connection will remain. Another person who grew up in an environment where emotions felt unsafe may become the runner, withdrawing whenever intimacy becomes too intense. Neither person is wrong. Both are responding from patterns that developed long before the twin flame connection appeared. The emotional energy behind running and chasing. The runner-chaser dynamic is not only about behavior, it is also about energetic imbalance. When one person chases, they often project a strong emotional need toward the other person. That intensity can feel overwhelming. In response, the other person creates distance to regain emotional control. But the more distance the runner creates, the more the chaser feels the urge to pursue. This creates a loop. Chasing creates running. Running creates more chasing. And the cycle continues. Many people become trapped in this pattern for months or even years. It can feel like a relationship that never finds stability. But the real purpose of this stage is not to keep the two people separated. Its purpose is to reveal the emotional patterns that both individuals must heal. The moment the chaser stops chasing. One of the most important turning points in the twin flame journey happens when the chaser begins to
change.
After experiencing enough emotional exhaustion, the chaser often reaches a moment of realization. They begin to understand that chasing the other person does not bring peace. It only deepens the imbalance. Instead of focusing on the runner's behavior, the chaser begins focusing on their own healing. They start rebuilding their sense of self-worth. They begin investing energy in their personal growth. They learn how to create happiness independently of the relationship. This shift in energy is powerful. When the chaser stops chasing, the energetic pressure that once pushed the runner away begins to fade. And this creates space for the dynamic to change. When the runner stops running, interestingly, the runner often begins to change at the same time. Without the constant pursuit from the chaser, the runner no longer feels overwhelmed by emotional pressure. The space created by the chaser's healing allows the runner to reflect on their own fears. They may begin realizing that their instinct to withdraw was not protecting them from harm. It was preventing them from experiencing deeper connection. With time, the runner may begin confronting their own emotional barriers. They start learning how to communicate more openly. They begin exploring the vulnerability they once avoided. And as this inner work unfolds, the need to run slowly disappears. The emergence of balance. When both individuals reach this stage of growth, the relationship enters a new phase. The runner-chaser dynamic dissolves. Neither person feels the need to pursue or escape. Instead, both stand on equal ground. This balance creates a very different experience of the connection. Communication becomes mutual rather than one-sided. Both individuals initiate contact naturally. Both express their feelings openly. There is no longer a sense that one person is trying harder than the other. The energy flows in both directions. A story of energetic balance. Consider the story of Adrian and Clara. During the early stages of their twin flame connection, their relationship felt like a constant emotional struggle. Clara often felt anxious when Adrian became distant. Her instinct was to reach out repeatedly, hoping to restore the closeness they once shared. Adrian, on the other hand, felt overwhelmed by the emotional intensity. Whenever the connection felt too demanding, he would withdraw for long periods. This pattern repeated itself many times. Clara chased. Adrian ran. Eventually, Clara reached a point where she realized that the cycle was exhausting her. Instead of continuing the chase, she began focusing on her own life. She invested time in her career, her friendships, and her personal healing. Gradually, she stopped monitoring Adrian's actions. She stopped waiting for messages. She stopped trying to force the relationship forward. And something unexpected happened. Without the pressure of being pursued, Adrian began to reflect on his own behavior. He realized that his constant running had been a defense against vulnerability. Over time, he began reaching out again, but this time from a place of genuine intention rather than reaction. When they eventually reconnected, the dynamic between them felt different. Clara no longer chased. Adrian no longer ran. They met each other as equals. Mutual effort replaces emotional struggle. This stage of balance transforms the entire relationship. Instead of feeling like an emotional battle, the connection becomes cooperative. Both individuals contribute to the relationship's growth. Both communicate openly. Both respect each other's needs and boundaries. There is no longer a sense that one person is responsible for maintaining the connection. It becomes a shared responsibility. And this mutual effort creates stability. The relationship begins to feel safe rather than uncertain. The freedom of emotional independence. Another important aspect of this balance stage is emotional independence. Both individuals have learned how to maintain their inner stability without relying entirely on the relationship. They know how to regulate their emotions. They know how to handle difficult situations without falling back into old patterns. This independence allows the relationship to breathe. There is no longer pressure for the partner to fill emotional gaps. Instead, each person brings their own sense of wholeness into the connection. And from that wholeness, a deeper form of partnership emerges. Walking the path together. When the runner-chaser dynamic dissolves, something remarkable happens. The relationship finally moves forward. Instead of circling through cycles of separation and reunion, both individuals begin walking the same path. They make decisions together. They plan their future together. They support each other's growth in practical ways. The connection becomes grounded in reality rather than emotional turbulence. And this balanced state creates the foundation for the next stage of the twin flame journey. Because once the relationship is no longer dominated by emotional imbalance, both individuals often begin to notice something else. A shared direction. A sense that their connection may serve a purpose beyond their personal relationship. Many twin flames begin feeling drawn toward a shared mission, something that allows their combined strengths and experiences to contribute to the world around them. And this sense of purpose is what we will explore in the next chapter. After twin flame union stabilizes and the relationship moves beyond emotional turbulence, many couples begin to notice a surprising shift in their journey. At first, the connection seemed entirely personal. It felt like a story about two individuals trying to understand their emotions, heal their wounds, and find their way back to each other. But as time passes and the relationship grows stronger, something deeper often begins to emerge. A new question appears. What if this connection is not only about the two of us? What if it is meant to serve something greater? For many twin flame couples, this realization marks the beginning of what is often described as a shared mission, the purpose hidden within the journey. During the early stages of the twin flame journey, the focus is almost entirely inward. Both individuals must face their own fears. They must heal their emotional wounds. They must grow into stronger and more conscious versions of themselves. This stage can feel very personal and sometimes even isolating. But the transformation that occurs during this period is not meaningless. It prepares both individuals for something larger. Once the relationship becomes stable and balanced, the energy that was once consumed by emotional conflict becomes available for something new. Creation, contribution, purpose. The connection between the two individuals begins to feel like more than just a romantic partnership. It starts to feel like a collaboration. Why many twin flames feel called to help others. One reason many twin flame couples feel drawn toward a shared mission is because of the depth of their personal transformation. Few people go through such intense emotional and spiritual growth within a relationship. The challenges they faced taught them valuable lessons about healing, self-awareness, and compassion. Because of this experience, they often develop a deep understanding of human emotions. They know what it feels like to face fear. They know what it feels like to lose hope and find it again. They know how painful emotional growth can be and how rewarding it becomes once healing begins. This understanding naturally creates empathy for others. Many twin flames begin feeling a desire to share what they have learned. They want to help others who are facing similar struggles, not because they believe they are superior, but because they remember what it felt like to be lost themselves. Different forms of shared mission. A shared mission does not look the same for every twin flame couple. Some people imagine that it must involve spiritual teaching or public speaking. But in reality, the mission can take many different forms. For some couples, the mission may involve creative work. They may collaborate on art, writing, music, or film that inspires others. Their shared creativity becomes a way of expressing the love and growth they have experienced. For others, the mission may involve helping people directly. They may work in counseling, coaching, education, or community service. Their relationship becomes a source of emotional strength that allows them to support others in meaningful ways. Some twin flames even discover their mission through business. They build projects or organizations that bring positive change to their communities. In these cases, The relationship becomes a powerful partnership that combines both individuals' talents. The key point is that the mission grows naturally from who they are. It is not forced. It emerges organically as both individuals continue evolving. The power of two energies working together. One of the most fascinating aspects of a shared twin flame mission is the way the two individuals complement each other. Often, their strengths are different but compatible. One partner may be more visionary, able to see possibilities and imagine new ideas. The other may be more practical, capable of organizing those ideas into reality. One may be deeply intuitive. The other may be highly analytical. Instead of competing, these differences create balance. Together, they form a partnership that is stronger than either individual working alone. This synergy can be incredibly powerful. When both individuals align their talents toward a common goal, the results can influence many people beyond their immediate circle. A story of shared purpose. Consider the story of Noah and Amara. When they first met, their connection felt intense and confusing. Like many twin flames, they experienced periods of closeness followed by separation. Both struggled with personal fears that created misunderstandings. But over time, they focused on healing their individual wounds. Through meditation, self-reflection, and emotional growth, they gradually became more balanced. When their relationship stabilized into union, they began noticing something interesting. Their conversations increasingly revolved around the same themes. They both cared deeply about emotional healing. They both felt passionate about helping people who felt lost or disconnected from themselves. At first, they simply shared these ideas privately. But eventually, they decided to start a small online project where they discussed personal growth and emotional healing. What began as a simple conversation between two people slowly grew into a community of individuals seeking support and understanding. Neither Noah nor Amara had planned this outcome. It simply emerged from their shared values and experiences. Their relationship became not just a source of personal happiness, but a source of inspiration for others. When love becomes creative energy. Another beautiful aspect of a shared mission is the way love itself becomes creative energy. In many relationships, emotional struggles consume most of the couple's energy. Arguments, misunderstandings, and insecurity can drain their focus. But once those struggles have been resolved, the energy that was once spent on conflict becomes available for creation. This can feel incredibly empowering. Instead of fighting each other, the couple begins building something together. Their love becomes a source of motivation. Their trust becomes a foundation for collaboration. And their shared experiences give their work authenticity. People often feel drawn to projects created by twin flame couples because the energy behind them feels genuine. It carries the depth of real transformation. The ripple effect. One of the most meaningful aspects of a shared mission is the ripple effect it creates. When two people who have experienced deep healing come together with a shared purpose, their influence often extends far beyond what they initially expect. Friends and family may begin noticing the positive energy within the relationship. People who encounter their work may feel inspired to begin their own journeys of growth. Sometimes even simple acts of kindness or creativity can affect someone's life in profound ways. The couple may never fully know how many people they influence, but the impact continues spreading outward. This ripple effect is one of the hidden gifts of twin flame union. The relationship becomes more than a private experience. It becomes a source of light that touches many lives. The importance of individual identity. Even within a shared mission, one important truth remains. Each individual must continue maintaining their own identity. A healthy twin flame partnership does not erase individuality. Instead, it celebrates it. Both individuals continue pursuing their own interests, talents, and passions. Their shared mission grows from the intersection of those personal paths. This balance between individuality and collaboration keeps the relationship strong. It ensures that neither partner feels overshadowed or restricted. Instead, both feel empowered. A journey that continues to expand. Discovering a shared mission does not mean the journey has reached its final destination. In many ways, it marks the beginning of a new chapter. The relationship continues evolving. New opportunities appear. New challenges encourage further growth. But now, the couple faces those challenges together. They no longer feel like two individuals trying to survive emotional storms. They feel like partners walking toward a meaningful future. And perhaps that is the true beauty of twin flame union. It transforms a love story into a life purpose. Two people who once struggled to understand their connection now realize that their journey was preparing them for something greater. A path where love becomes inspiration, where healing becomes service, and where the connection between two souls becomes a force that can quietly change the world. But even within this shared mission, there is one final transformation that often surprises many twin flames. It is not about what they build together. It is about the quiet, everyday reality of their life after union. A life that may appear ordinary on the surface, yet holds a depth of peace and fulfillment that few people truly understand. And that is the final stage we'll explore in the next chapter. When people imagine twin flame union, they often picture something extraordinary. They imagine a relationship filled with constant passion, intense spiritual experiences, and dramatic moments of destiny. In their minds, union feels like something almost mythical, a love story that exists outside the ordinary rhythms of everyday life. But the truth about life after twin flame union is often far more surprising. It becomes normal. Not ordinary in the sense of being boring or meaningless, but normal in the sense that the relationship begins to integrate into daily life in a grounded and peaceful way. After all the emotional storms, all the separations, all the deep inner healing, the connection finally settles into something stable enough to exist within the simple rhythm of everyday existence. And in that simplicity, many twin flames discover something they never expected. The quiet moments become the most meaningful ones. The transition from intensity to stability. During the early stages of the twin flame journey, almost every moment of interaction can feel significant. Every conversation seems important. Every message carries emotional weight. Every separation feels dramatic. The relationship feels like the center of the universe. But after union stabilizes, the emotional intensity gradually transforms into stability. Instead of feeling like a powerful storm, the relationship begins to feel like a steady river. The connection is still deep. The love is still powerful, but it is no longer overwhelming. This stability allows the relationship to become part of everyday life rather than something that constantly disrupts it. And this is where many people begin discovering a new form of beauty, the magic of ordinary moments. One of the most touching aspects of life after union is how meaningful ordinary moments can become. Moments that might seem insignificant to others suddenly feel deeply fulfilling. Sharing a quiet morning together, cooking a meal side by side, taking a walk without needing to say much, working on personal projects in the same room. These moments may appear simple, but they carry a profound sense of peace. There is no pressure to impress each other. No need to prove the depth of the connection. The love simply exists. And that quiet presence becomes more powerful than dramatic declarations. The comfort of being fully yourself. Another beautiful change that happens after union is the freedom to be completely authentic. In many relationships, people sometimes feel the need to present a certain version of themselves. They may hide vulnerabilities. They may adjust their behavior to avoid conflict. They may try to maintain an image that they believe their partner expects. But in a mature twin flame union, much of that pressure disappears. Both individuals have already seen each other's deepest emotions during the earlier stages of the journey. They have witnessed each other's fears, wounds, and personal struggles. There is little left to hide. Because of this, both partners feel safe being fully themselves. They can express their thoughts openly. They can share their emotions honestly. They can even embrace their imperfections without fear of judgment. This level of acceptance creates a relationship that feels deeply liberating. Emotional safety. One of the greatest gifts of life after union is emotional safety. During earlier stages of the journey, emotions often felt unpredictable. Misunderstandings could quickly escalate. Triggers could create intense reactions. But after both individuals have completed significant inner healing, the emotional environment changes. Both partners become more aware of their own reactions. They learn how to communicate calmly during difficult moments. They understand how to support each other when challenges arise. Because of this, the relationship becomes a safe place to return to after facing the stresses of the outside world. No matter what happens during the day, both individuals know they can return to a space of understanding and compassion. And this sense of safety strengthens the bond between them, supporting each other in daily life. Another important aspect of everyday life after union is practical support. Love is not only expressed through emotional connection. It also appears in small, thoughtful actions. Encouraging a partner before an important meeting, helping them navigate a difficult decision, offering comfort during stressful moments, celebrating small victories together. These acts may not seem dramatic, but they demonstrate the strength of the partnership. The relationship becomes a source of stability in both individuals' lives. Instead of draining energy, it provides support and encouragement. Growth continues. Even though the emotional storms of the early journey have passed, personal growth does not stop. Both individuals continue evolving. They may explore new interests. They may pursue new goals. They may discover new aspects of themselves. The difference is that now they are not facing these challenges alone. They have a partner who understands their journey and supports their evolution. Sometimes one partner may go through a period of change while the other provides stability. At other times, both individuals may grow simultaneously. But throughout these changes, the relationship remains strong. It adapts and evolves alongside them. The balance between togetherness and independence. Another key element of everyday life after union is the balance between connection and independence. Healthy twin flame relationships allow both individuals to maintain their personal identities. Each person continues pursuing their own passions, friendships, and goals. They do not feel obligated to spend every moment together. Instead, they understand that personal space is essential for growth. This balance creates a dynamic where the relationship feels supportive rather than restrictive. Both individuals remain connected, yet free, and that freedom strengthens their bond. A story of quiet fulfillment. Consider the experience of Daniel and Maya several years after their union. When they first met, their connection felt intense and unpredictable. They spent years navigating emotional challenges and personal healing. But after their relationship stabilized, their life together became surprisingly peaceful. Most days were simple. They woke up early, shared breakfast, and talked about their plans for the day. Sometimes they worked together on creative projects. Other times they focused on their individual goals. In the evenings, they often took long walks, discussing ideas, dreams, and reflections about life. There were no dramatic arguments. No cycles of separation. No constant emotional turmoil. Just a quiet sense of companionship. When people asked them what twin flame union felt like, Daniel once gave a very simple answer. It feels like coming home after a long journey. A love that feels natural. Perhaps the most surprising aspect of everyday life after union is how natural the relationship begins to feel. There is no constant need to analyze the connection. No endless questioning about the future. Both individuals trust the bond they share. They know that they have already overcome the most difficult stages of their journey. This trust allows them to focus on living their lives rather than constantly worrying about the relationship. And in that sense of ease, the love between them continues to deepen. The hidden beauty of simplicity. The world often celebrates dramatic love stories. Movies and novels focus on passion, conflict, and emotional intensity. But the deepest form of love often reveals itself through simplicity. A quiet conversation at the end of a long day. A shared laugh over something small. The comfort of knowing someone truly understands you. These simple moments may not look extraordinary from the outside. But for those who have walked the long and challenging path of the twin flame journey, they represent something incredibly meaningful. They represent peace. They represent trust. They represent the quiet fulfillment that comes from finding a partner who truly understands your
soul.
And yet, even within this peaceful life after union, there is still one final realization that many twin flames eventually discover. A realization that changes how they see their entire journey. Because when they look back at everything they experienced, the pain, the healing, the growth, and the love, they begin to understand something profound. The union they were searching for was never only about the relationship itself. It was about the transformation that the journey created within them. And that realization is the final truth we will explore in the next chapter. One of the most beautiful and often misunderstood transformations after twin flame union is this. Both individuals begin to evolve into the best versions of themselves, not because they are forced to, but because love itself invites that evolution. Before union, the journey is usually chaotic. There are emotional triggers, periods of separation, misunderstandings, and sometimes even deep heartbreak. Many people believe these painful phases exist simply because the relationship is complicated. But in reality, they are catalysts for transformation. The twin flame journey is not designed to keep people stuck in emotional drama. It is designed to awaken them. And once union occurs, once both individuals have done enough inner work to meet each other from a place of awareness, something remarkable begins to happen. Growth becomes natural, not forced, not demanded, not manipulated, but inspired. When two people are finally able to stand beside each other without needing to control, fix, or chase one another, they create a space where personal evolution flourishes. And that is when the real transformation begins. Love stops being a battlefield. Before union, love can sometimes feel like a battlefield. There may have been moments where one person felt they had to prove their worth. Moments where misunderstandings led to silence. Moments where fear created distance. But after union, the dynamic shifts dramatically. Love is no longer something to fight for. Instead, it becomes something to build together. There is a deep realization between the two souls. We are not opponents. We are partners. When this realization settles into the relationship, energy that was once spent on emotional conflict becomes available for something much more meaningful: growth. Growth of character. Growth of purpose. Growth of compassion. And growth of self. The mirror becomes gentle. Twin flames are often described as mirrors. During the early phases of the journey, that mirror can feel harsh. When someone reflects your deepest fears, insecurities, and unresolved wounds, it can be incredibly uncomfortable. This is why so many twin flame connections go through phases of running and chasing. The reflection is simply too intense. But after union, the mirror changes. It becomes softer, more compassionate. Instead of triggering wounds, partners begin to support each other's healing. Instead of exposing weaknesses in painful ways, they gently encourage growth. For example, imagine a person who struggled for years with self-doubt. Before union, criticism or disagreement might have triggered insecurity. But after union, their partner responds differently. They say things like, "I believe in you. I know you're capable of more than you realize. You don't have to prove anything to me." These simple affirmations can have a powerful effect. Because when they come from someone who truly understands your soul, they carry a different kind of weight. They feel real. They feel safe. And slowly, confidence begins to grow. The desire to become better. One of the most interesting aspects of a healthy twin flame union is this. Neither person demands that the other change, yet both people naturally want to improve.
Why?
Because when you are deeply loved and deeply understood, you begin to see your own potential more clearly. You want to grow, not out of pressure, but out of inspiration. Think about it this way. When someone constantly criticizes you, you may feel defensive. But when someone truly believes in you, something inside you awakens. You start asking yourself new questions. What kind of person do I want to become? How can I live more authentically? What gifts am I meant to share with the world? In this way, twin flame union becomes a powerful catalyst for personal development. Both individuals begin pursuing healthier habits, deeper emotional awareness, and greater alignment with their life purpose. Not because they have to, but because love makes them want to. A story of transformation. Consider the story of Daniel and Maya. Before their union, their connection had been turbulent. They experienced several separations over the years. Miscommunication and emotional triggers often pushed them apart. Daniel struggled with emotional vulnerability. Whenever conflicts appeared, he would withdraw. Maya, on the other hand, tended to chase resolution immediately, which only increased Daniel's desire for distance. For years, this pattern repeated, until both of them reached a breaking point. During a long separation, they began focusing on their own healing. Daniel started therapy and began learning how to express emotions he had suppressed since childhood. Maya focused on self-worth and learned to stop seeking validation through relationships. When they eventually reconnected, something was different. Their conversations were calmer. Their reactions were slower. Their understanding was deeper. Instead of reacting to triggers, they began responding with awareness. And gradually, a peaceful union formed. But the most remarkable change wasn't just their relationship.
It was who they became.
Daniel became more emotionally open, not only with Maya, but with his family and friends. Maya discovered a passion for helping others navigate emotional healing and eventually became a
coach.
Their union didn't limit their growth. It amplified it, supporting each other's purpose. Another important change after twin flame union is the way partners begin supporting each other's purpose. Instead of competing for attention, success, or recognition, they celebrate each other's achievements. They become each other's strongest supporters. Imagine waking up each day next to someone who genuinely wants to see you succeed. Someone who celebrates your progress. Someone who encourages your dreams rather than questioning them. This type of support creates powerful momentum. When both individuals feel emotionally secure, they are free to explore their true potential. And often, this leads to surprising outcomes. Creative projects emerge. New career paths appear. Spiritual growth deepens. Because love, when healthy, expands life rather than restricting it. Healing continues, but differently. It is important to understand that union does not mean perfection. Challenges still appear. Old patterns may occasionally surface. But the difference lies in how those challenges are handled. Before union, conflict might lead to separation. After union, conflict becomes an opportunity for understanding. Instead of asking, "Who is right?" the partners begin asking, "What is this situation trying to teach us?" This mindset changes everything. Problems become lessons. Triggers become invitations for deeper awareness. And growth continues, not through pain, but through conscious partnership. The quiet evolution of love. Perhaps the most profound transformation after twin flame union is subtle. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet. It shows up in everyday moments, in small acts of kindness, in the calm presence of someone who truly understands you, in the sense that you no longer need to search for something missing. Because together, you have created a space where both of you can simply be yourselves. And within that space, evolution happens naturally.
Slowly. Gently.
Powerfully. A question for the soul. If twin flame union truly encourages both people to become the best versions of themselves, then perhaps the real question is not, when will union happen? Perhaps the more meaningful question is, who am I becoming on the path toward it? Because the truth is this. Union is not simply about finding the right person. It is about becoming the right version of yourself. And when two people reach that level of awareness, their connection stops being about emotional chaos. It becomes something far greater. A partnership of growth, a space of healing, and a living example of what mature love can truly look like. Twin flame union does not complete you. It reveals you. It reveals the strength you didn't know you had, the compassion you didn't know you could offer, and the potential that was always waiting to emerge. When two souls walk this path together, they do not lose themselves in the relationship. They discover themselves more fully, than ever before. And perhaps that is the true purpose of twin flame union, not just to love another person, but to become the most authentic, awakened, and compassionate version of yourself, side by side with someone who is doing the same. When people imagine twin flame union, they often picture something dramatic. They imagine fireworks, overwhelming passion, constant excitement, and a love story filled with intense emotional highs. But the truth is far more surprising. After all the chaos, after all the spiritual lessons, after the cycles of separation and reunion, the most profound transformation that happens in a twin flame union is not intensity. It is peace. A deep, quiet, stable peace. And for many people on the journey, this can feel almost confusing at first, because they spent so long associating love with emotional turbulence. They became used to the highs and lows, the chasing, the running, the uncertainty. So when union finally arrives and the relationship begins to feel calm, steady, and balanced, a strange question sometimes appears in the mind. Is this really it? But that calmness is not a loss of passion. It is the birth of something far more powerful. It is mature love, the end of emotional chaos. Before union, the twin flame connection often feels like a storm. There are moments of incredible closeness, followed by sudden distance. Moments of deep understanding, followed by confusion. And at times, both individuals may feel overwhelmed by emotions they cannot fully explain. This happens because the twin flame journey activates deep layers of the subconscious. It brings hidden fears to the surface. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability. All of these emotions must eventually be faced and healed. That is why the early phases of the journey can feel so intense. But once both individuals begin to heal these inner wounds, the emotional chaos starts to fade. And something remarkable takes its place.
Stability.
In a healthy twin flame union, there is no longer a constant need to test the relationship. No one is trying to prove love. No one is trying to chase reassurance. Both people simply know. They feel the connection without needing to question it. And that certainty creates a powerful sense of calm. Love becomes safe. One of the greatest gifts of twin flame union is emotional safety. Before healing, love can feel risky. Opening your heart may feel like exposing yourself to pain. But when two people meet each other after doing their inner work, they begin to create a completely different emotional environment. One where vulnerability is welcomed. One where honesty is respected. One where both people feel safe expressing their true selves. Imagine being able to share your fears without worrying that someone will use them against you. Imagine speaking openly about your dreams without fearing judgment. Imagine knowing that even during disagreements, the bond between you remains secure. This type of emotional safety is rare. But when it exists, it allows love to deepen in ways that dramatic passion never could. Because real intimacy is not built on excitement alone. It is built on trust. Passion does not disappear. Some people worry that when drama disappears from a relationship, passion will disappear as well. But this is a misunderstanding. Drama and passion are not the same thing. Drama is driven by emotional instability. Passion is driven by deep connection. In fact, many couples discover that passion becomes stronger after union.
Why?
Because emotional walls are no longer present. When two people feel safe with each other, they can express love more freely. There is no fear of rejection, no fear of abandonment. And this freedom allows intimacy to grow naturally. Instead of being fueled by emotional tension, passion becomes rooted in genuine appreciation, in admiration, in the joy of being together. It becomes less about intensity and more about presence. And that type of passion tends to last much longer. Life begins to expand. Another surprising change after twin flame union is that the relationship stops being the center of everything. Before union, much of the emotional energy may have been focused on the connection itself.
Questions like,
why did they pull away? What does this mean? Will we reunite? These questions can consume enormous mental and emotional energy. But once union stabilizes, that energy becomes available for something else. Life. Both individuals begin to focus more on their personal growth, their passions, and their contributions to the world. The relationship becomes a foundation rather than a distraction. Instead of constantly analyzing the connection, both partners begin building a life together. They explore new opportunities. They pursue meaningful goals. They support each other's ambitions. And slowly, their world expands. This is one of the clearest signs that a twin flame union has matured. The relationship no longer consumes life. It enriches it. A partnership of growth. In many ways, a stable twin flame union resembles a powerful partnership. Both individuals continue evolving. Both continue learning.
But they do so side by side.
If one person faces a challenge, the other offers support. If one person discovers a new passion, the other celebrates it. There is no competition, no jealousy, no fear of being overshadowed, because both people understand something important. When one of them grows, the entire relationship grows. This creates a powerful sense of teamwork. They begin to see life not as two separate journeys, but as a shared adventure. The beauty of ordinary moments. One of the most profound realizations after twin flame union is this. Happiness is often found in ordinary moments. Not dramatic confessions. Not intense emotional breakthroughs. But simple experiences shared together. Cooking dinner. Walking through the city. Laughing over small misunderstandings. Sitting in silence, without feeling the need to fill the space. These moments may appear ordinary from the outside, but within a deep spiritual connection, they carry extraordinary meaning. Because when two people truly understand each other, even silence can feel like communication. Even stillness can feel alive. A story of quiet love. Consider the story of Elena and Marcus. When they first met years earlier, their connection was intense and confusing. They felt an immediate bond, but also experienced frequent misunderstandings. Marcus often withdrew during emotional conflicts, while Elena struggled with feelings of abandonment. Their relationship ended several times. Each separation forced them to confront their own inner wounds. Marcus learned how to communicate his emotions rather than hiding from them. Elena began healing her fear of abandonment and discovered her own inner stability. Years later, when they reconnected, something had changed. Their conversations felt calmer. Their reactions were more thoughtful. Instead of escalating conflicts, they approached disagreements with curiosity. Over time, their relationship became steady, peaceful, supportive. And one evening, as they sat quietly watching the sunset, Elena realized something surprising. There was no emotional tension, no fear, no uncertainty, just a quiet sense of belonging. For the first time, love felt simple. And that simplicity was more powerful than all the intensity they had experienced before. The final transformation. Perhaps the greatest transformation after twin flame union is the shift in perspective. Love is no longer seen as something to chase or something to struggle for. Instead, it becomes something to nurture, to protect, to grow over time. Both individuals begin to understand that the journey was never just about finding each other. It was about becoming the kind of people capable of sustaining a deep and meaningful love. And once that realization arrives, the connection takes on an entirely new purpose. It becomes a space where healing continues, where growth continues, where love evolves, not through chaos, but through conscious choice. Every day, if twin flame union ultimately leads to peace rather than drama, then perhaps the real goal of the journey is not reunion itself. Perhaps the deeper purpose is transformation. The transformation of fear into trust. The transformation of insecurity into self-awareness. The transformation of chaotic love into conscious partnership. And if that is true, then every challenge on the path had meaning. Every separation carried a lesson. Every moment of uncertainty was preparing both souls for the same destination. A love that is no longer fragile, A love that no longer needs drama to feel alive. A love that simply exists, steady, grounded, and real. Twin flame union is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where two people who once struggled to understand each other now walk forward with
clarity.
a chapter where love no longer feels like a storm, but like a calm ocean, deep, powerful, and endlessly supportive. And when two souls reach the stage, something extraordinary happens. They do not just experience love. They become an example of what love can be. A reminder to the world that relationships do not have to be defined by conflict. That peace is possible. That growth is possible. And that the most powerful love stories are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes they are the quiet ones. The ones where two people simply choose each other, again and again, every single day. If this message resonates with your heart, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. What lessons have your relationships taught you? What kind of love are you becoming ready for? And if you believe in the possibility of conscious, transformative love, consider sharing this message with someone who might need to hear it today. Because sometimes, the right words at the right moment can help someone realize that their journey is not meaningless. It is preparing them for something extraordinary.
Thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message resonated with your soul, remember to subscribe and continue this journey with us here on Twin Flame Journey. And always remember, what is meant for your soul will always find its way back to you. Until next time, beautiful soul, trust the journey.